You have been the bishop of the Lutheran Church in Soweto since 1976. How did the disturbances in 1976 affect the church in Soweto and you as a bishop?
The disturbances in 1976 brought to the surface new problems which, even though they were there, expressed themselves in a new way. I'm thinking, for instance, of the racial polarization which came about, which posed a challenge to the church, a challenge of how black and white people can work together and accept each other as brothers.
How did you follow up that challenge in the years after?
It is still a living problem. We cannot claim that we have arrived at a solution, since the events in 1976 caused a very deep cleavage among the racial groups in South Africa.
Do you cooperate with white Christians in South Africa today?
Yes, we try, because we believe that the church as the body of Christ embraces everybody regardless of color and race. In my particular area of the church, we are at present having negotiations with two congregations of Nordic background. These two congregations, one in Durban and the other one in Johannesburg, would like to become part of our church.
And do you find any breakthroughs within this white church structure then?
We have not ironed out all the problems, but I hope that in the near future we shall do so.
What kind of problems?
Problems relating to property and other similar sensitive questions.
You look upon the church as an instrument of social change and social process. How shall such an instrument function?
By definition, the church is based on the possibility for change. People become Christians through a process of change. It is therefore natural to expect the church as an institution to be an initiator as well as a facilitator for change. And this can come about in the manner the church proclaims the gospel, and also the manner through which the church responds to problems which arise in the situation. I strongly believe that the church should be a liberating factor in the community.
But how directly shall the church or Christians in South Africa involve themselves in the struggle?
They can involve themselves as members of the community, which means wherever they are, they can play a constructive role in facilitating change. The church also, as an institution, has the obligation to devise and arrange its ministry in such a way that it facilitates whatever process of change happens, be it initiated by the church or initiated by some other organization, as long as it is consistent with the aims and methods used by the church.
But what about violent acts? The use of violence?
Well, we regard the use of violence, regardless of who starts it, as a problem. We are aware of the fact that there is a situation of violence which issues from institutionalized violence in the milieu of the church. And therefore, the problem before us is how to enable people to cope with whatever experience of violence comes their way. And the other reaction we have towards the problem is to proclaim the gospel to the authorities so that they do whatever they can in order to remove whatever traces of violence there may be.
Do they listen to you?
We hope they are listening, but we still are facing problems.
What is your concern about the future of evangelism in South Africa?
Our concern is that young people especially no longer listen to you if you speak about reconciliation between black and white, or that there should be love between black and white, simply because of the experience they went through in 1976. So the work of evangelism is very difficult, but we are trying nevertheless.
The program of the World Council of Churches on the combating of racism has been controversy in South Africa. What is the current status of this discussion?
Understandably, white people are very much against it, whereas black people within the same respective churches are applauding the act of the World Council of Churches in this respect, for the simple reason that it is a sign of hope, that there are people who care in the case of those who are in a situation of need. The church has a responsibility of ministering to people in a wide range of situations, even in a war situation. And I'm sure that what the World Council of Churches has done is to give an example of how a church can minister in a meaningful way.
You said once that the political world has become the salt of the church instead of the other way around. Is this what you are trying to change in South Africa?
The unique problem we are facing at home is that when it comes to the area of church unity, we have realized that the government has implemented its policy of separate development to an extent where people are already separated. And now we are trying to react to this by trying to create unity. This is an instance where a government policy has affected the structuring, the inner structuring of the church.
And how do you handle this situation in practice?
In the diocese where I work, for instance, we have about 5 language groups. Some of those language groups are spoken widely in some of the homelands which have become independent. And therefore we are, as it were, working against the stream by way of promoting unity where people are being encouraged to turn to their respective homelands.
So this is your main challenge in the present-day situation?
This is the main challenge in our diocese, how to create unity and understanding among the various ethnic groups in our country.
How can you, as black people, make positive contributions to the quality of life in South Africa?
We do not have access to the facilities of improving the quality of life. That is in the hands of white people. As you know, in our country, there is not an adequate distribution of economic resources, and there can never be a good or high quality of life without a fair distribution of those material economic resources.
But what is there for you to do in order to uphold the Christian values in South Africa?
As a preacher of the gospel, I believe that it's our responsibility to undertake a prophetic ministry wherein we address those who are in positions of authority to do their work and perform their duties in such a way that a better South Africa is created.